and they abuse them terribly from the reports that we've heard. Okay, so here we go, chapter 20. Hashem should send you support from himself. His name should support you. There should be help emanating from the Beis Hamikdash. And Hashem should remember all the offerings that we have brought to him and answer our prayers. And he should enable us to fulfill all our good resolutions. When you ask Hashem for a blessing, you have to make a good resolution along with it. To make a vessel to hold the blessing. We will rejoice in your salvation, Hashem. Now I know, says King David, Hashem saves his anointed one. Answering him from his highest holy heavens. With might. Yesha, salvation, Yamine, from his right hand. Some come with chariots, some come with infantry, with cavalry. We come with the name of God on our lips. They slipped and stumbled and fell. We got up, and we're standing strong. We're standing strong in our belief in God. 3,700 years, 3,333 years since Mount Sinai. A lot of threes. That's a long, forever, like Rabbi Gordon says, forever is a long time. That's a long time. 3,333 years we've held strong. We've held on to our Yiddishkeit. And all the nations that have persecuted us have gone under. All right. We're learning in Netanya chapter 13. And we're learning, I admit to you, it's a very difficult concept to understand. Because we learn that truth is truth. Truth, to quote the poet, truth is truth always. Truth is always truth. One of the first questions that was asked of me by the rabbi who introduced me to Yiddishkeit was to define truth. So I had learned enough. There we go. I had learned enough in my dealings with him to that point to know that whatever I would say, he would dismiss it. He would find faults with the explanation. So I was silent, and then he answered for me and said, truth is that which agrees with itself on every side, which is part of what we're going to come to in this chapter. Truth agrees with itself on every side. Whereas falsehood does not agree with itself. Falsehood has inherent contradictions. And we're very concerned that our service of Hashem should be a service that's a true service. What the Tanya is all about is how to serve Hashem with love and with fear. We didn't learn this yet, but it comes up. It's going to come up that a bird can be kosher, can be brought as an offering on the temple of God. But if it doesn't have wings, it can't fly. It can still be kosher, but it can't fly. What are the wings? And he's going to bring in the Tanya an allegorical symbol of a bird. that the bird is like the name of God. The Yud, head is a Yud, and the body is above, and the two wings are like love and fear. So that we can have the body of our learning, we can have a body of learning, we can have our prayer, but without love and fear, it doesn't fly. It doesn't go anywhere, can't fly. So a person can have all the right ideas and desires, but if he doesn't have love of God or fear of God, it doesn't go anywhere. There's a story that one time the Maggid of Mezrich was, maybe it was the Baal Shem Tov, came by a certain shul. They invited him to come in. He didn't want to go in. He said, "Why don't you want to go into this shul?" He says, "It's full of too full of prayer." I said, "How can that be? It's too full of prayer." He says, "Because all the prayers stayed in the shul. They never went anywhere. Our prayers have to fly." Truth, our love and fear has to be true. Now we have a problem. That what a person, Tanya comes to answer a lot of problems that Hasidim were expressing to the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe. This is one of them. Rebbe, I learn about Hashem, I learn about Torah, but when I come to daven, I don't feel anything. You ever have that feeling? From time to time, you feel that you want to daven, you need to daven, and you say the words. You're just saying the words. It's not happening. Where's the love? Where's the fear? Someone asked me on this Shabbos, if someone who's opposed to learning Hasidus asks you, why should I learn Hasidus? Why? Can you give me a quick answer? I need a quick answer, not a whole long speech. I think the answer is because if you want to do something in truth, in the service of Hashem, you have to learn Hasidus. Because you want your service to be true to yourself. What is yourself? Your inner self is your godly soul. Your godly soul is part of God. So who said it? The great English poet, right? Above all else, to thine own self be true. What is thine own self? That is your godly soul, not your animal soul. That's not your true self. Your animal soul, today it desires this, and tomorrow it desires that. Your godly soul wants to be connected to God at all times. But when you go to daven, you don't feel it. Sometimes you do. The first time you light a Shabbos candle, come to the dorm and they give you a candle and you light it and you're inspired. You feel the holiness of the Shabbos day. That's a gift. And you deserved it. And it lasts for a good while. And then gradually you get distracted from it. So how do you manage to serve Hashem really with love in truth? For that you need to have Hasidus. That's what it's all about. That's what Tanya is coming to. The question, the basic question that is being asked of us in Tanya is, how can we serve Hashem in truth? Why do we need to? There's a very beautiful answer from the Rebbe. The Rebbe says there are 6 mitzvahs that are constant mitzvahs that every person is obliged to fulfill them, whether they call themselves, whatever label they want to put on themselves. Like, to love Hashem is a mitzvah. It's one of the commandments of the Torah. To fear Hashem is a commandment of the Torah. To believe in Hashem is a commandment of the Torah. How can you do these things? These are constant mitzvahs. You're supposed to have these ready at any given moment in your life. If you don't study these subjects, how can you do it? Just by learning the halacha, the laws of Shabbos, or the laws of kashrus doesn't do it. Doesn't inspire you with these mitzvahs, with these feelings, which are eternal feelings. So now we're dealing with the difference between a Beinani and a tzaddik. All these ideas are presented very, very briefly in the very first chapter. So we're constantly referring back to the first chapter. It says there in the first chapter of the Tanya, Job, whoever Job was, one of the advisors to King Pharaoh, perhaps. It's a debate in the Talmud, who was Job? Job. He says, Master of the world, you created righteous people, you created wicked people, but you didn't say who was who. Meaning that your free choice is never taken away. It's always up to you what you're going to be. The potential is there. The potential to be a righteous person is there in every single one of us. The potential not to be the opposite is also there. And then there's the Beinani. The Beinani is the intermediate person. You can't say he's righteous. Well, if we're going to say that, then we have to redefine what we mean by righteous. Because a Beinani can be indeed very righteous. You can't say the Beinani is wicked, because wicked is not, wicked is wicked. Okay, so let's redefine. What is a wicked person? A wicked person is someone who messes up, does something not nice, does something everybody knows this is a wicked thing to do. There's a well-known story from the Baal Shem Tov about somebody who was a friendly person who was friendly with his neighbor. And one time his neighbor came back from some big business deal that he had done on that level, on whatever level he lived. And he put the money in a drawer, and his neighbor saw him do that. And his neighbor said, that's not right. He has to be more careful with his money. I'm going to teach him a lesson. And he went and he took the money. And I'll give it back to him later. I'm just going to teach him a lesson, not to leave things lying around like that are so valuable. What happened? When the people came to collect their money and they found it was missing, the whole place went crazy. And the man fainted. And then the neighbor was too ashamed to admit that he had taken the money. And so one thing led to another, and it went on for a long period of time, a couple of years. The guy never gave back the money. He couldn't find an opportunity when he could give it back and save face and not seem like, but did he do a good thing? No, he wanted to do a good thing, but that was the Yetzer Hara told him. He really did it bad. He stole the money. As long as he had it, he stole the money. And so time went by, and one day, the friendly neighbor, so to speak, happened to be passing. The Baal Shem Tov was out on the street, followed by his Talmidim. At that point, he had been revealed as a righteous person. He had Talmidim who followed him around, and he said, called that person over, and whispered a few words to him, and then the person went on his way. So the students thought, who is this person? The Baal Shem Tov wants to talk to him. He must be one of the hidden tzaddikim. And they come over and they're pestering him. They want to know, what did the Rebbe say to you and who are you? And they were sure he was a hidden tzaddik. And he didn't want to talk to them. Why? Because what did the Baal Shem Tov finally reveal with them? He says, one thing I'll tell you, so I am not a tzaddik. I'm not what you think I am. But your Rebbe, he is a tzaddik, he said. Your Rebbe is a great tzaddik. And finally, he divulged the whole story. What the Baal Shem Tov came over to him and just said, return the money. Return the money. And so he took the load off of his heart and he straightened up the whole situation. How do you know? He knew, he understood, he could see what the whole situation was. So we understand from this story that when you do something that's not right, even with good intentions, you did something bad. That makes a person a rashid, a wicked person. And the tzaddik is just the opposite. The tzaddik never does anything bad. He has no inclination to do bad, no desire for things that are beyond, crossing over the red line into the area of transgression. He never transgresses. Who's the Beinani? What's the difference between a Beinani? A Beinani also never does a transgression. Get this. The Beinani never does something wrong, never says anything bad. And if he has a bad thought, a desire, a desire that's not permissible, he desires something that's not allowed. For whatever reason, maybe he's curious, tempted to entertain the thought. It happens sometimes, heaven forbid, especially amongst young people. They want to see what things are like, what life is like. So they wonder what it's like to go to a movie on a Friday night, on Shabbos. What's going to stop them? So that's the difference between the Beinani and the Tzaddik. The Beinani will never go to that movie on Friday nights or Saturday afternoon matinee either. He won't do it. He won't do it. But he might want to do it. So in that case, the Beinani might be a Russia wannabe. He toys with the idea. He doesn't really toy with the idea. He's assailed by the idea. His negative inclination doesn't leave him alone or her, and is constantly throwing at them temptations. The tzaddik doesn't have these temptations. It says in the first chapter of the Tanya, King David said, "My heart is empty within me." What does that mean? It's empty. It means he killed his negative inclination. He killed his temptation to do bad. He only would do good. And from this we learn what is the nature of a tzaddik. A tzaddik has no evil inclination whatsoever. Do you know people like that? Maybe you do, but not a lot of them. So it says in the Medrash, the sages teach us in the Medrash, where are the souls of Jewish people before they're born? Well, your soul goes together with your body. So we have spiritual levels of things. We have a place where all the souls are kept in storage, so to speak. They're kept until their time arrives for them to come into this world to do their service here. What is that place? That place is called a spiritual body. The soul belongs in a body. So there's a spiritual body for spiritual souls. It says Hashem looked into the spiritual body, so to speak, in heaven, and he saw that there were not very many tzaddikim there. The Moshe Rabbeinus of creation are not so many. The Avrams and Yitzchaks and Yaakovs and Yosefs, the Moshes and Aaron, not that many. Miriam, Yocheved, the great righteous people of our history, they're unique, each one in his or her own time. And therefore, when Hashem saw how rare were the souls of tzaddikim, he set them out in every generation, that no generation should be without at least one tzaddik, the tzaddik of the generation. Maybe there are several. There's a Moshe Rabbeinu, and then there are the princes of the different tribes. They were also righteous, but they weren't Moshe. Every generation, there's only one Moshe. So from this comes out the definition of a Beinani, the average person. The average person is not a tzaddik, it's not a Moshe Rabbeinu. But he's not a Bilam Rasha either. He's not a Pharaoh. He's not a Haman, a wicked king, a wicked minister. He's a good person. He's frum. He's religious. He's observant. He's learned. He cares. He gives. But his Yetzer Hara never leaves him alone. Yetzer Hara drives him crazy. And every time he notices a negative thought arising in his brain, it comes up from the depths of his heart, rises up from the heart to the brain. What does he do? He says, no, out of my life. Get out of my face. I don't want to see you. Get out of town. Get lost. You're no good. You're lowest of the low. And he yells at his own Yetzer Hara. Obviously, you don't yell in the street. They put you in a special place for people who talk to themselves. But inside, there's a war going on. And that's the difference between him and the tzaddik. The tzaddik is not fighting the war anymore. He's fighting a different war. The tzaddik is a shepherd. He's taking care of Hashem's flocks. But the Beinoni is a warrior. And he's struggling the whole time because in that area, a person, most people do not have the merit to become tzaddikim. The potential is there. It's possible, but it's a gift. The difference between the tzaddik and the Beinoni is that the tzaddik is in complete control of his life, of his inclinations. There's no inclination to evil anymore. He's transformed his evil inclination into a good inclination, like in a game of chess, where the pawn becomes a queen. The Rasha gives into his evil inclination. He does things that are not acceptable. Some of them very, very, very minor, very subtle. Some of them very gross, very horrible. The Beinoni never does anything bad. Never. He's in control of his thoughts, of his actions. He's in control of his words. He's not in control of his thoughts because negative thoughts rise up into his brain, but he struggles. He is in control of what he does. And thinking is an activity. He is in control of his thinking in that sense. He's not in control of the thoughts that pop into his head, but he is in control of what he does with them. So that if you have something, let's say something, you see something you're not supposed to see. You didn't choose to see it. It just jumped in front of your eyes on the side of a bus or a magazine cover or something like that. And you see something, it's not acceptable. It's not nice. It's not modest. It's not your fault. You didn't make it. You didn't choose it. You didn't buy it. But if you want to take a closer look, that's your fault. The second look. So the Beinoni does not allow himself to take a second look. Very high level. Very, very high level. Okay, so that's what we're learning in chapter 13, that the Beinoni is constantly struggling with his negative inclinations. And so the question that arises that we've come to is this considered serving Hashem in truth or not? Because there are times when the Beinoni does feel tremendous love and fear of Hashem, and he's not fooling anybody. His heart is aflame with love and the desire to be connected to God. And if someone would suggest to him or to her to do something wrong, they would say, scream at them, go away, leave me alone. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see you. Pick on someone else. You're a useless piece of garbage. But the tzaddik never experiences that. The tzaddik doesn't have the war. So the question is, since he felt love and fear, when does he feel this love and fear? And it's really true when he says Kriya Shema in davening, or when a person is inspired to do a mitzvah, really to do it properly and to do it well, to do it for the sake of Hashem and not for any ulterior motive, so that they should be chosen for some respectable position, or to get a job, like a job in a holy institution, or to be a madricha in the dorm. So you have to be on your best behavior. That's an ulterior motive. The Beinoni has times when he serves Hashem, he or she serves Hashem with real love and real fear, and it's true service. So the question the Alter Rebbe is dealing with is that someone says, yeah, but Rebbe, how can you say it's true, I'm serving Hashem in truth, when I know after I finish davening, I'm going to go back, I'm going to be the same person, I didn't change it a bit. I didn't change. Still the same me. I could desire these negative desires all over again. So where's the truth? This is the question the Alter Rebbe is asking here. Understand? Everybody understand? Yeah. We all understand all too well. And so what the Alter Rebbe answers here is very comforting and very, very important. He says, it's true that compared to a tzaddik, the Beinoni's service is not true service. But nobody's expecting him to be a tzaddik. On his or her level as a Beinoni, it is true. And even though those feelings of love and fear will pass once he stops davening, in a couple of hours it'll be time to daven again, or to say Birkas Hamazon after eating. The Rebbe says, we spoke about this so many times, that we should consider an after bracha, after eating, even a bar nefashos, like davening shacharis, should be no less love and fear. Asher Yatzar, the Rebbe says Asher Yatzar should also be said in the Siddur. And if I can do that, that means that after I davened, I became the same old self-centered person. But then I had to say a bracha after I had breakfast, and I remembered Hashem, and I thank Hashem with real love and fear in my heart. Wow, halavai. Wouldn't that be nice? And since it's possible, the Alter Rebbe concludes, since it's possible for the person after davening, and you lose it, but then shortly afterwards you can get it back. Especially if you do the same meditation, go through the same thought process to understand that surely there's a God in the world. Surely I'm part of his creation. Surely I'm part of his plan for making the world into a better place. So let me live up to my potential. And you go for it, you see. So you return to that level. So since you can always return to that level, so that's also called a true service. And the Alter Rebbe gives an example. Look at what happened in the Beis Hamikdash. Every morning, in the Beis Hamikdash, the service, the Beis Hamikdash started with an offering that's called the daily offering. And the daily offering is called Tamid, which means continuous. But it's not continuous. You offer it in the morning, and then that's it. Then you do other things. And at the end of the day, you bring it again. So you have a korban tamid in the morning and a korban tamid, the daily offering, in the evening. It opens the service and it closes the service. But it's called tamid. Tamid means continual, constantly. It's not constant. It's early and then it's late. So the Alter Rebbe says, from this we see, and similarly, the lighting of the lamps and the menorah and the Beis Hamikdash is also called tamid, a constant service. But it's not constant. It's done once a day. The Rebbe says, from this we can understand that a service that can be repeated can be called true. Not for a tzaddik. For a tzaddik, it wouldn't be true. A tzaddik, more is expected of a tzaddik. But for a Beinoni who suffers from the temptations of the Yetzer Hara, constantly, the whole day, it's not something that comes at a certain hour and then you're given a reprieve and it's not going to bother you for a while. Could keep on bothering you the whole time. And you have to struggle against it the whole time. But since the struggle is constant, and therefore, since you don't give in to the struggle, that's called a true service, because that's true to your level. It wouldn't be true to a tzaddik, but it'd be true to you. And this is the point that the Alter Rebbe is coming to make here in chapter 13. Because here he said, we brought this pasuk, that there's a constant struggle between the good and the bad, like Yaakov and Esav. But with meditation, when we meditate on the idea, on the greatness of Hashem, even though the Yetzer Hara, when we are inspired, the Yetzer Hara takes a break, he goes away, but then he comes back. So here on page 204, we didn't even get to this yet. I think we did mention it, yeah. There is a proverb from Mishlei that the language, the lip of truth is established forever, but the tongue of falsehood is only momentary. What does that mean? That means the language of truth. In other words, truth is truth. And truth is truth constantly, all the way, even from the most external level of truth, it's truth. It's like holding on to the finger. When I would go to shul with my children in the morning on Shabbos, they'd hold on to my finger, the little children. Who are they holding on to? Their father. It's just a little finger they're holding up. It's just your father's finger. So similarly, the lip of truth is truth. But the tongue of falsehood is false. And the Alter Rebbe interprets this that the avodah, the service of the Beinoni, is like the tongue of falsehood. It's false because it's not constant. He's inspired and then he loses it. But then he comes back. And this is the consolation that the Alter Rebbe gives to us, ordinary people, that if we keep on trying, we succeed on our level. And with Hashem's help, we can even get to a higher level. Okay, that was like a summary of what we've been learning. We'll continue, finish up in Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow, chapter 13, and move on to chapter 14. But I told you this is a very subtle and complicated idea. Thank you very much, girls.
Nice to you. Hi. I see it's broad.